Our next speaker is General Roger Schultz, and I'm going to make some remarks about Roger Schultz that he would not approve of. The first thing here would be, come on up, Roger. Come on and stand next to me. It's such a pleasure to have you here, and don't step on my toes as if I'm saying something you didn't want me to say, but General Schultz is an American hero. That's what he doesn't want me to say, but General Schultz is an American hero. General Schultz served almost 43 years in the Army National Guard, including multiple deployments, active duty employments with the Army. General Schultz retired as a lieutenant or three-star general. He retired serving as director of the Army National Guard for the longest period of service of anybody in American history, at least up to that time. I haven't tracked it since then, as the most senior leader of our entire National Guard. General Schultz currently serves as president of the Army Historical Foundation. General Schultz is integral to helping to support the National Museum of the Army that, just like our museum, opened only recently. General Schultz continues to provide service all day, every day to the United States. What I want to particularly point out here, which again, I'm sure General Schultz doesn't want me to mention this, but General Schultz is a Vietnam veteran. He served as a rifle platoon commander and as a scout platoon commander. We were having dinner one evening, and I know something about the reputation of the tunnels of Cu Chi. And it turns out that General Schultz's area of operations, for those of you who are in the crowd who are Vietnam veterans or otherwise Vietnam historians, you know what I'm talking about, the district of Cu Chi. There wasn't a safe place in Vietnam, but there weren't any places more dangerous than the district of Cu Chi. And this was General Schultz's area of operations as a platoon commander. What's even more amazing to me, so the tunnels of Cu Chi, the Viet Cong, North Vietnamese, had entire towns underground. As we were walking through the Vietnam War gallery yesterday, General Schultz was offering some commentary, and he was saying that they would have towns underground right underneath American bases without us knowing it. They had hidden tunnel entrances. They had all kinds of booby traps at the tunnel entrances. You had to squeeze through the narrowest imaginable tunnels to get into these tunnel complexes. We had specialized troops who did that. They were called tunnel rats. When I would read the valor, the story of the history of tunnel rats, I just could not imagine. It would be the smallest guy with the biggest nerve in the platoon who would volunteer to squeeze into this undersized tunnel. The Viet Cong, North Vietnamese, were typically smaller than us. They didn't make these tunnels big enough for us to get in. They made these tunnels big enough for them to squeeze through, knowing exactly what was there. So we had tunnel rats who were brave enough to squeeze into these tunnels with just a flashlight and a sidearm, not knowing what was just down where the extent of the flashlight. And can you imagine trying to sneak up on an enemy completely at home there, and the way you're sneaking up on them is by shining a flashlight? I mean, but Americans did that. What I want to particularly call out here is, I'm thinking of somebody 5'5", 5'6", crawling through the tunnels. General Schultz, as the platoon commander, crawled through those tunnels. When he told me that, I said, you can't do that. You know, it's the little guys that do that. And again, with the humility, General Schultz said, well, I was thinner then. But I'm pretty sure he was still over 6 feet tall. And the idea that the platoon commander, instead of designating someone to crawl into that tunnel, the idea that the platoon commander would provide that leadership by example and have that valor is a story I want to share that I know General Schultz would not have authorized if I told him in advance. Now, with this kind of leadership and this kind of valor in your service in Vietnam and in your service on behalf of the country since then, General Schultz has received awards and decorations that include the Distinguished Service Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, which means he received the Distinguished Service Medal twice. Below that, next level of decoration, General Schultz received the Silver Star for his actions and leadership in combat. And besides that, he received the Bronze Star for his leadership and action in combat. And besides that, he received the Purple Heart with Oak Leaf Cluster, so he received the Purple Heart twice. Again, all with humility and tremendous leadership, and serving as a tremendous role model for me, as well as with so many other Americans, particularly Americans fortunate enough to be under General Schultz leadership during their own service on behalf of the country. General Schultz and his colleagues are going to have an informational table here in the lobby. You can come up and talk to him. You can shake his hand. He's going to offer some formal comments and take Q&A at 2 o'clock in our conference room. Again, you can find out something about what General Schultz's perspective on things. And it's just with the greatest pleasure that I'm pleased to introduce General Schultz to offer his remarks.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you. My thanks, Dan. Dan, you're too kind. Way too kind. I'm a farm kid from Iowa, actually. And my name is Roger. And so Dan gives me more than an invitation here with this introduction, Governor. Governor, to you and to Jenny, for your presence here. You honor us today for your service looking after veterans and their families. We are indebted to you for that. Now, I know you have a commission out here that looks after veterans as well. But as you think about the contribution that this state has now applied to the veterans and the needs of our veterans, ladies and gentlemen, this is meaningful, and it's serious, and it's important, and it's making a difference. Doc Smits, thanks. I'm honored to join the stage with you for your time in uniform and for what you've done out of uniform with the veterans of foreign wars. Well, I stand before you as a Vietnam vet. And as I talk with you about a soldier, I want you all to know that I reflect on soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and members of the Coast Guard. And that collection of energy and will and commitment on the part of our nation is what makes our nation what it is today. And we must not forget that. And in this museum, you will see those reminders as you walk through the halls here. So, Governor, as we talk about this place, this is special. So, a few years back, I was assigned duty as a member of a commission, and Department of Defense Commission for the 50th commemoration of Vietnam. And so we were determined to find the Vietnam vets around the country who didn't have the greatest welcome home. In fact, many had no welcome home. From my personal experience, when I returned to Travis Air Base in 1969, the first thing they asked me to do was take my uniform off. And so in the course of this commission work, we found not thousands, not 10,000s, we found millions of veterans from the Vietnam War who have never been thanked for their duty. They've never been recognized. And so we were determined to do two things. First off, to find out where they are, who they are, and thank them for their service and honor them for their service. And Dan, that's what you and Cynthia have created here with Alan's help. And this place talks to you in a way that I've not seen a museum talk before, ever. And so it's making a serious difference for sure. Well, as you walk the halls of the museum, you'll pick up some hints here about our history. And I just want to make a couple of comments. One's World War II. And one is, you'll see in the halls a reference to the Red Ball Express. Now just think about Red Ball Express. This is almost 400 miles of a logistics convoy. This would be from Du Bois to a place just north of Denver for sake of the distance here. And we talk about the greatness in the armor units, in the infantry units, and all those soldiers and others, Marines who have fought our nation's wars. Without our logistics in place, we have no army. And so as you talk about this is a 400-mile convoy route. This is a one-way road, and it's operated 24 hours a day. And Dan tells these stories in this museum. And it's a fantastic reminder of just what it takes to fight and execute our nation's wars, and it's uniquely different and special. I've never seen a display like this. And it is a serious place for us to learn about those who served in these vehicles. Most don't know that 75% of those vehicle operators were African American operators. A piece of our history that perhaps will need to have a refresher course on. So as you think about this place, just a couple of references for you. And I want to remind you as just something to think about, and that would be our industrial base in this country today. In 1939, we had less than 3,000 airplanes. 1939. We finished the war having produced 320 plus thousand airplanes. And you can make the same kind of analysis for the tanks and the fighting systems and the weapons and the machinery that it takes to prosecute our nation's wars. Why do I say this? We just need to be alert about that reality and what we may be thinking about today that perhaps needs some attention. Okay, a quick story, and then I'll wrap up here. But the 34th Chief of Staff of the Army was meeting with his Russian counterpart. This is going to be in early 2000. And General Schultz is talking with the Chief of Staff of the Russian Army, and they're having a debate about the best tank in the world. So this is going to be a Russian T-90 and our M1 Abrams tank. And so both of these are 4 stars now. They both agreed that the Russians had the best tank. No, General Schultz said the Army has the best tank. Our M1 Abrams is a really good tank, right? And so in the course of the discussion, what they agreed on is that both had tanks that were really, really comparable. But the one thing the Russian Chief of Staff said, you got the best non-commissioned officers. Now, just think about it. That's soldiers in the trenches. That's soldiers in the ranks. That's the kids out there making a difference. And so you could make the same story about those that fly the aircraft, about those that run the machine guns, those that run the infantry squads, those that run the Bradley fighting vehicles. All of those stories are embedded in the ranks in our uniformed members today. So I wrap up with this thought. The difference in our Army and Navy and Marines and Air Force and the Coast Guard are in our people. And it's our people that make the difference. So I come to this place and I see all the vehicles, and they are significant and they number in the hundreds. But when you get to the stories and you talk about those that made a difference, it comes down to this: a willingness and a courage and a commitment to serve their oath. And the oath goes like this: I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's what those words mean. And so I come here, I've been here 3 times now. I come here and I'm reminded once again how significant this place is as we tell the stories of those who served, those that make the fighting systems what they are, and it's the human dimension that makes our nation special. So, Governor, this is a special place for Wyoming. I will also offer this place is a national treasure. And to Dan and to Cynthia, Allen's here somewhere, thanks for sharing this special place with us.